A spiral of perception. What would be the difference between habitable zones? You can imagine that your centripetal acceleration is equal to the velocity squared divided by the radius. By examining the relationship between acceleration and radius, a velocity may be equated. For example, our acceleration must be equal to the speed of light. Therefore, a equals 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second squared. This leaves two variables which may decide the locations of safe habitable zones for human consciousness: velocity and radius. For example, if a equals c, you have a radius of 1 meter, then your velocity squared must be equal to c in order for human consciousness to perceive manifested reality. Let us look at an example that shows only variations of velocity and distance. We will keep our centrally directed acceleration equal to the speed of light. We will be using generic manifestation units as our distance from center. What you see is that as the distance from center increases, the tangential velocity needed to maintain light speed acceleration towards center increases as well. In the simplest words, the further from the center you are, the faster you need to go to perceive reality, or multiples of the proper wavelength. The feeling of constant acceleration is directly related to the constant change in velocity while maintaining a constant speed tangent to the center. What you notice is that the combination of velocity and radius makes a spiral pattern of where your acceleration towards center is equal to the speed of light. Let's assume constant velocity. It is always dangerous to make assumptions. However, for this model, we will assume a constant velocity through time, as in, the flow of time is uniform. The velocity of the universe around the center of time relates directly to how quickly events would be experienced. Therefore, you are left with a series of rings in which matter may be perceived by human consciousness. There would be time dilations associated with the angular velocity differences between events. In other words, consciously experiencing an event on an outer ring would take more time than experiencing an event on one of the inner rings. You could say that everything is happening all at once in the center of time, a sort of time singularity, where all events overlap. Near the outer rings, events seem to take longer. However, the clocks would still tick at the same rate as an event in the inner ring. The main difference is the perceived length of the experience. The easiest way to see this is to look at what we will call event density. It is the arc length divided by the numbers of field lines. The number of cognitive snapshots a user undergoes per event traveled is related to the arc length and velocity. You can see that at the center, all the lines are converge and form a singularity. Events would all be happening simultaneously. If you were to extend this ring outward, events at infinity would take an eternity to unfold in mind, and there would be no overlap. Dark matter and energy. What is dark matter? The easiest way to describe it would be that it is a superstructure that guides the shape of our expanding universe. It is only detectable by the gravitational effects it has on matter. It has not been directly observed. When it is mapped across the universe, it makes a sort of highway network, similar to the nervous system of a human body or to the mineral veins of a mountain. In the crystal of time theory, dark matter is native to time and not the universe. The universe is bumping into and colliding with dark matter as it orbits the singularity of all moments. It would be very similar to water in a river flowing around rocks. Manifesting matter bumps into and flows around dark matter. Dark matter is part of the raw crystalline structure of time itself. Dark matter disturbances. Looking at this model, you could say that dark matter and energy would be one of the fundamental differences between habitable zones of conscious experience. It may also be the fundamental difference when considering concepts of multiple atoms of time and universe hopping. One time may be dense with dark matter and one may be completely empty. Looking at the simple depiction, you can see that dark matter is not uniform by any means. It could be considered an impurity in the system of time. In some places it's thick and runs parallel with itself, and in others it intersects. Perhaps it is a fundamental part of time, or it too has collided with time. Could it be an overlapping universe that does not manifest in our conscious spiral of light speed acceleration? It is most probable that it is what holds the crystal of time together, a sort of glue. Or perhaps, similar to a living being, it is used to transfer energy like the cardiovascular system of reality. Either way, it is as if matter is attracted to and forms around dark matter. Dark matter disturbances and event density. The varying nature of dark matter in the time fluid causes slight changes in the unfolding of events in different habitable zones or densities. The experience perceived by consciousness is directly related to spirit harmony. We will return to this. Expansion of the universe. Let's continue to solve or explain some of the riddles we see in our universe today. One of the most puzzling questions we come across is, why is the universe expanding when the force of gravity should be causing it to contract? In Your Influence in Space, we discover there is a sort of interstellar star pressure that may be observed. We saw that matter acts as shields. The force of gravity was equated to being interstellar star pressure minus shielding for mass. It is as if all objects near each other are pushed together and stars far apart are pushed apart. What is being shielded? Could it be consciousness? We see that matter is a result of space preparation and conscious crunching. We see matter drifting further and further away. Is there a sort of drag on our universe being caused by the fluid of time itself? Is the expansion of the universe a result of a boundary condition between the natural rotational velocity of the fluid of time, the initial velocity or energy state of the incoming universe, and the consciousness that resides inside? Like any mass-on-mass interaction, there will be a drag or friction of some sort. As the universe rotates or moves through time, the fluid would naturally want to reshape the universe. For example, for fluids at the boundary, the velocity of the fluids will be the same, which implies for this example that the velocity at the edge of the universe would strive for balance within the general motion of the time fluid. The maximum motion in our universe would be naturally towards the edges because the rate of time fluid flow is the greatest. One could also imagine vortices forming on the trailing end of our universe as it orbited through time, displacing the fluid in a turbulent fashion. The rotation of time fluid. There are no stationary bodies in the universe. Again, making an assumption, however somewhat safer in this instance, you could say that the fluid of time itself is in a state of rotation about the center of time, regardless of any intruding universes. Remember the spiral of perception earlier? The location of matter's manifestation is directly related to the balance between conscious crunching and space preparation, which occurs when you are accelerating at light speed. This means as the fluid of time either rotates faster or slower, the habitable zones will change accordingly. Another factor to the fluid dynamics associated with the time fluid and our universe would be the initial velocity or energy at which the universe entered time. Motion of balance is caused by the degree of imbalance. As the initial velocity differences between the time fluid and incoming universe increases, so does the expansion rate. Nowhere here does this imply that the universe will one day crunch back into singularity. Nowhere here does this imply that the universe will end as a frozen land of absolute zero. This implies that the universe will continue to cool and expand until it reaches an energetic balance with the time fluid. At that point, the universe would no longer be expanding or contracting. The second fate described by this model would be an energetic exiting of the universe from time. Shielding. Back to the example of gravity being a result of interstellar light pressure minus shielding from mass, and you see that perhaps it is consciousness that is being shielded, creating wells of perception, which translates into gravity. Conscious preparations, space crunching, shell jumping. Using the techniques explored in the liquid light state universe, we may see how our conscious experience guided by spirit potential may travel from one habitable zone of experience into another. This relates directly to spirit fields, events, and dark matter density. Magic sphere. Let us now go back and examine the magic sphere in slightly more detail. Here is the magic sphere of mind, body, and spirit as derived from the magic square. This pattern is one that does not interfere with the light state of the universe. It almost tricks the light state into thinking that it does not exist, meanwhile allowing for infinite energy to be created inside. In this example, even the four middle numbers, 6, 7, 10, and 11, add to equal 34. Each one of the smaller rings may be represented by the original bigger picture. Each one would contain a spike in the middle. As you can see, the height of the spike may become infinite as the number of rings increases towards center. Consider this spiking height to be your antenna, which connects you to the varying densities of your conscious perception and therefore waking reality. The density of reality, the thickness and fullness of time you experience, is directly related to which habitable zone your consciousness resides in. Remember, the universe is existing and having experiences at each of the habitable zones simultaneously. There are almost infinite numbers of habitable zones as they are related to the whole number ratios of our space preparations and conscious crunching ability to accelerate towards center at light speed. Conscious preparations and spirit harmony relation. The universe has nodes of manifestation which stem from the natural overlapping of electromagnetism. Our consciousness waves add and subtract to create potentialities across all habitable zones or spirit fields in unison. The physical experience one undergoes is a result of the vibrational harmony in accordance with the potentialities that exist. It is the spirit potential, described in the liquid light state universe. Your consciousness is tuned to the best light state of coherence in relation to your spirit vibration, and that is where you will feel as if you have physically manifested. For a quick, simple explanation, you could go out on a date, plan everything perfectly, conscious preparations. It was the best date of your life, and both of you are about to kiss, space preparations. Then, anxiety, fear, or perhaps overconfidence. It creates a shift in your body's vibration or spirit state. You now, through the use of shell jumping, have jumped into a physical existence or mental construct of that vibration. You have effectively changed an energetic densities which coincides with a different array of dark matter influences and event paths. The event now literally manifests differently than if you were to have just stayed cool and calm. He or she now flees in fear because of the anxiety. The love is gone, but both regret it. It was all doubt in the mind, and they will eventually pace back towards no wall, because there is either wall or no wall in our primitive understandings. We will pace back to this. Exiting universe. What happens when and if a universe comes near another? Is there, and does it even make sense to consider the possibility of interference with another? Let's consider a universe in a couple ways. We could say it's a solid, a liquid, or a gas. For the example, let's use an electric liquid model with low viscosity. This means that our universes are sticky to themselves and they have an electric charge. The electric charge would be related to the spin state of the entire structure. It may be reasonable to think of it as like an electron. Any matter that spins creates a magnetic field. When you have something the size of the universe, you end up making a pretty big magnet. In our simple model, if a universe collides with another, then they will either bounce off each other or stick to each other, depending on the direction of the magnetic field. It may be possible for enough energy to be gathered during one of these collisions for an entire universe to escape through the crust or mantle of time. Where would it go? In our crystalline structure of time, we see the universe orbits towards center at light speed. It somewhat mimics the behavior of an electron around an atomic center. Could it be that time molecules, or atoms, also have a positive and negative charge based on the electric charge of the universes within? Could the crystal of time we speak of be similar to one single atom of time in a yet bigger structure? Will our electron universe travel to another atom of time? If so, what might we experience? Consciousness native to time? This leads to the ultimate question. Is the consciousness that's been evolving in our universe native to the universe or to the crystal of time itself? What is the order of operations as far as events? Was it time, consciousness, then universe? Or do we really think it went universe, time, then consciousness? Cleaning out the inside through harmony. Circling back to your influence in space, we see that the answer may be that the order of operations is time, consciousness, and then universe. Let's look at our crystal of time as if it were a living being. What would be the goal of our lives in relation to this much greater picture be? We all seem to strive for love and harmony with our environment. People fear death and pain. It is that easy to understand. There is either love and harmony or struggle and discord. Let us go back to the single-celled organism with the simple ability to detect wall or no wall. The wall distorts the organism. It favors no wall. It favors freedom and potentiality. Although our senses have evolved to detect more complicated structures, they basically still say the same thing. The translation to the mental projection is now love or no love. All beings in time strive towards natural harmony. When looking at the light state of the matter, it is smooth, calm, and everlasting. The universe may be a distortion of sorts in a smooth fabric of time and consciousness. Conscious agents could be the harmonizers of time, with the goal of being to remove discord created by entering bodies. After all there is love.